Are back for round two. That's right. And we have some wonderful speaker for you this afternoon, or actually still this morning. Miss Dawn McCarty, CEO of Securing Everything, is here with us, and she is going to be giving us a wonderful presentation concerning how do we stay safe online, protecting our families online. And so, Miss Dawn, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen here. Oh, this is a different option, so. There we go. Okay. Good morning, everyone. As Monique said, I am Dawn McCarty, and the CEO of Securing Everything and also the founder of Safe at Home Online Security Academy. I'm going to go ahead and shut off my video camera just so that we can stop my video. Okay, so you can just see the screen because I want you to pay attention to all the information there. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I want to start with is I'm starting a movement, and I want everyone here to join me, and everyone out there that knows anybody else that connects to the internet. We want to have them join us as well. So I want to challenge you. I want to challenge everybody to be safer online. And that means to help. That also includes helping your children to be safe at home. And here's why. We have invisible dangers online, and I have 5 top areas of concern that I focus on. And we're going to start with computer and device security is one of them. And this is an area that just basically using your system needs to have some element of security just so that you're protected from antivirus and things like that. Keeping your children safe online is a really big concern, especially now that we've gone through 2020 and we have more children online at home, and everybody's sharing devices. And they're also connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they have screen time as much as they want, basically, and they have access to it everywhere they go. They're constantly on social media, and parenting controls or parental controls there's so many of them, and they do different things. It gets a little confusing. Another concern is cyberbullying, and that includes haters and stalkers, and we need to be able to recognize the signs. And we also have to consider the family and domestic violence element of it too. So I'm including that in this particular section. Privacy is a big concern for corporate America. Then they focus on protecting data. They focus on identity. They focus on their networks. So we actually need to do the same thing at home. We need to protect our own data. We need to protect our own identity, and we need to strengthen our home security. And then the last one of my top 5, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just my top 5. And the 5th one is online predators and groomers. And I asked a couple of parenting groups, mother groups, and people that have children what they knew about online predators. And I was surprised to find out that not very many of them knew what that meant. So this is going to be an area that I am going to cover in depth so that we can get this information out there. So one of the courses that I'm going to be offering is going to be how to secure your device. As we're using these devices, we're needing to have security for this, or we need to add this app for that. So we're looking at how do we keep from getting viruses? How do we keep from clicking on links from suspicious emails? This is all this is knowledge. You just need knowledge so that you can be armed to protect yourself, to protect your home computer and your environment. So we'll be covering how to protect devices. Now that more and more people are working and schooling from home, it is so essential that we secure our home networks. No matter if you're a remote user or an entrepreneur who has an office at home, if you're just have a office where you pay your bills, or if you're a student and going to school, We need to have these networks secured so you can provide the safest environment possible for you and your family. So according to some of the studies and researches done recently in the last year or two, some of these were done like Pew Research Center and a couple others. If you'd like a list of resources, I can provide them later, but I do not have them listed on the screen. But you can see here that there are parents that are using some type of parental control. We have about 52% of those, but a lot of those parents are not really satisfied with what those tools do in helping them protect their children. And then we have 71%. Now, 71 is really close to 75, which is 3/4. So 1 in 4 children, or 3 out of 4 children or teens are hiding their activities from their parents. And almost 3 out of 4 admit to blocking their parents when they're online. And that is a concern because you can't protect them if they're blocking you. And then 3 out of 4 parents feel anxiety, trying to keep up and keep track of what their children are doing in their activities. 70% of parents feel helpless and they can't limit the screen time because it's everywhere the child is going. And then 60% of parents are overwhelmed and they just don't know where to start. So that is where I can help. I can help you learn areas where your children are accessing the internet and how they're accessing it. So they have devices at their fingertips. They were born in this technology era and they know no different. They were not born in a time like some of us who didn't even have a computer in the home when they were children. So right now, not only do they have a computer in the home, but they have one in their back pocket. So they can take it everywhere they go. And that's a little bit different than when I was growing up, at least. So we have to consider what environment they're growing up in. Almost everywhere they go, there's a device. They can access it from a friend or a family member's house. They can maybe even use their devices. So, and they can even go to the store and they can purchase those temporary ones or the ones that aren't with a major phone carrier. They can buy them at Walmart. So devices are available at almost everywhere they go. So they are also when they go to school, they're actually being taught how to code or how to program. And that is a process of creating and manipulating processes and procedures. So if you think about what they're learning in school, there's a lot of information we didn't have the opportunity to learn. So you might find yourself thinking, wow, that's so cute that when I can't do something, I just have my kid come and help me. They'll figure out how to make my browser work, or I can't get connected to the internet. So, but they can come and help me figure out. And I just love the fact that I just call on them. But my question to you is, if they know more than you, then how are you protecting them? So that is an area of concern, and that will be something that I'm also going to be teaching in my academy. And a lot of times we find ourselves when our children are homeschooled, or let's say we'll talk about the younger group, and they need to know how to do something. We often say, well, have you Googled that? Or let's Google that and let's find out. Let's go ask Google. So here's Uncle Google. And the problem is that even though the internet is a wealth of information as far as resources and educational material, there's so many great benefits to the internet. There is also that downside that we just have to keep in mind, that we just have to be cognizant of it, that there's invisible dangers out there. And imagine an 8-year-old child going and typing in, hey, Google, where do babies come from? Can you imagine the search results that they may see? So just remember that Uncle Google does not ask how old your child is. And they don't know who's asking, if they're a child, if they're a parent, or maybe even a predator. And if you ask the question and it exists, Uncle Google's going to return the results. So and also he has no concern over the age or gender of the person that's sending in the request. So he's going to deliver whatever he finds. So let's go into my concern. My top concern number 2 is keeping children safe online. And part of what I see is that oftentimes we just don't know what all the options are. And that's okay, because technology has kind of exploded on us. So it makes sense that we don't necessarily really know what we need to do. It just kind of happened. And now is the time that we have to stop and really go back and embrace it, and make sure that we are figuring out what our options are. Do you feel overwhelmed with the multitude of options? Probably, because there's a lot. There's a lot to technology. So there's a lot of different things that just pop up. We have developers constantly adding more and more apps. Children have different apps that they're changing all the time, whatever ones happens to be popular at the moment. And another concern is, do you think that cyber might be too hard to learn? And that's a pretty big concern for a lot of parents and a lot of people in general, is that cyber sounds really complicated, and it can be, but it's not really that hard to learn. And I'll tell you, I'll share my own story, where back in when my youngest child was just born, I ordered my own computer system, and I was going to do medical billing. And as the tech was setting up my brand new computer system, he was setting up the keyboard and everything, and I picked up this little object on the table. It was round and it had this cable attached to it, and I'm holding this. I'm like, what is this? And he says, well, that's your mouse. And I'm thinking, that's kind of funny, a mouse. And I laughed, and he rolled his eyes at me, because I think he thought everybody knew what a mouse was. But I hadn't been in this world with Windows, with the new computer systems. I had left work when I became a mom, so I kind of missed, there's a gap in between. So I knew nothing about, not even a computer, let alone computer security. And what got me into it is when I really messed up the computer, and I had to call this tech guy back. He said that I really messed it up. He told me what I did. When he figured out what I did, he was so mad at me. He literally cussed me out for messing up the computer system so badly. And that's when I decided I needed to go and learn how to work on a computer. And it just kind of progressed into the security element. I didn't even start to learn how to use computers. Cybersecurity was never even on my mind, or not even on my radar. It's just how the natural progression went, and the need was there. And that's kind of where we're at today. The need is really here for all of you to be able to learn how to at least secure your own home. So don't think that you can't do it, because it's definitely possible. If I can do it, and here I am a cybersecurity expert. I was able to learn it from not even knowing what a mouse was. So you have a little advantage over me at this point. So I want to point out some of the things that are in the news today. We have a lot of platforms out there that our kids are using, and they're either under investigation, they're being questioned for their practices. We have one here that big tech can't help kids stay safe. That's pretty big. And then even with that, this is the same story, but the story branches out to platforms need to make it easier for parents to protect their children online. That is in the news. So this is pretty big stuff. We have privacy practices that are questionable when it comes to children and protecting their data. And we also have a European model, which is called the GDPR. That is a privacy, more or less, law that helps protect their data and their identity. And it's something that they're even mentioning that the rest of the world could probably emulate. So we have some good ideas in the forecast that maybe we can start using to help protect ourselves. But in the meantime, we kind of have to step in and be our own protectors at the moment. So top concern number 3, cyberbullying, haters, and stalkers. This isn't a new topic. However, it has exponentially exploded last year. So with more people at home, with more stress, more anxiety, more depression, 2020 was a tough year. And we have definitely seen that when it comes to cyberbullying statistics. So 43% of teens between the ages of 13 and 17 experienced cyberbullying last year. 1 million children were harassed, threatened, or subjected to cyberbullying on Facebook last year. And 1 in 6 parents know that their child had been bullied. So only 1 in 6 parents knew. Over 46% of those asked, they have received the nasty, threatening, intimidating messages online. And they also may have witnessed cruel bullying and they didn't do anything about it, probably because they didn't know what to do about it. So this is where awareness and knowledge is going to come in. And that is the focus of this mission and this movement that I'm trying to create here, so that we can all step in and respond and react to things that we see. And we're not just minding our own business anymore, because this can be really serious. And then top concern number 4, we have data is the new oil is a common statement that we use in the cybersecurity world. And I want to add in there that if data is the new oil, then identity is the new gold, because it is just as valuable, even more so than just data, because it can be sold on the dark web. That they want that personal information so that they can use it themselves or continue to sell it. And they also know that your home network may be easier to break into than corporate America. And that's what the bad actors are working towards. They're starting to turn their heads towards what is the weakest link? What is the path of least resistance? What's going to be easier for me to obtain my goal? So what I want to do here is I want to make their job a lot harder. And I want to help you make their job a lot harder as well. We don't want them to have carte blanche. We don't want them to be able to break in easily, because we simply just didn't know that there was something that we could do to protect ourselves. So going into number 5, this one's a big one. And we're going to be talking about what those online predators are. What is grooming? So when you think about a predator, what do they look like? How do we profile a predator? That's the tricky part, is because this is an actual statement from a convicted sex offender. And his goal, we're talking about what his primary goal was, to find out what the child that he was engaging with wanted to, what age group were they looking to speak to? Who were they looking to connect with? Was it a male? Was it a female? Was there an age bracket? And once he found out what that information was, he would become that person. That's simple. He would know, okay, they're looking for a 13-year-old girl, and he would just become that. And guess what else? He could find any of those million pictures online that he could send saying, hey, this is who I am, and trick that teenager or that young person into thinking that's really who he is. This is from the mouth of a convicted sex offender. This is what they do. And recently, this was earlier this month, we had an arrest of 10 suspected online predators in South Carolina. And what was interesting about this, what caught my eye, is that this is like the new 21st century version of Home Alone, with 2020, where we had so many children home that it was an open market for them, more or less. So predators are going to be hanging out where your children are hanging out, or where children in general are hanging out. So we need to work with families and children so that we can keep them as safe as possible. The problem isn't that there's 10 men here on the screen that were arrested. It's the compounded effect of what each one of these has that can exponentially affect their reach. So if one person has access to however many children, they actually share this information. And there's a network that they use, and they actually share what is called their grooming manual. They share a grooming manual that they can actually send on the internet, which if we could figure out a way to stop or prevent them from sharing that, that would be a really good way of reducing the ability for people to learn how to do this. It's kind of discouraging when you think about they're actually teaching each other how to best groom our youth. So if there are 10, how many more are behind these guys? We need to get in and figure out how these rings work. And there are bigger organizations that are dealing with that. But for you, what you need to know is how can you protect your home and your child from being involved, being able to spot these signs that they may be able to detect when they meet someone online. And one of the questions is how do they get access to children in the first place? And the mind of a predator is very good at being whoever he needs to be so that he can get that access that he needs to get. So there's no common trait. The only common trait that we have found in those that have been arrested for it is that they're generally middle-aged Caucasian men. That's the only thing that we know. Now, that it's not explicitly 100%, but in general, that's who the profile really fits. But there's others that fall into that category. So it's really hard to decide if someone next to you at the movie theater or standing in line may or may not fit the profile, because there really isn't one. So we have to just be able to spot the signs, and there's definitely signs that we can look for that will be, I will teach you how to do that in the courses. So how can I help you protect your family online? I have created the very first family-friendly, safe-at-home online security academy that helps families and entrepreneurs secure their home and office networks so that they can protect their data, their identity, their intellectual property, and more importantly, their children from the hidden dangers of those invisible dangers online that they may be facing. So let me ask you a few questions. How safe do you feel on your home network right now? Is it secured with the proper tools and security controls? Are your children unsupervised or maybe undersupervised while accessing the internet? What would it be worth to you to have a peace of mind that they are safe as they can be? And then how would it feel if you were able to learn everything that you needed to ensure that they were safe and engaging online, whether at home or out there in the world? These are some pretty, I would feel safe knowing all of these. I would be able to sleep well at night knowing that my children were safe. So this is what I hope to be able to share with all of you. And what's really important as well is to remember that you do not have to be a cybersecurity industry expert. You only need access to one. And that's why I am here. So again, I am Dawn McCarty. I have 20 years experience in the information and cybersecurity industry, specializing in privacy, identity and access management, data loss prevention, and governance. Also in forgery and fraud and forensic examination and analysis. And I have an MBA, master's degree in criminal justice, a bachelor's also with criminal justice victimology, and a bachelor's in criminal, got criminal in the head, computer science and information systems. So now, after all of that, I hope that you are ready to learn how you can protect your children from the invisible dangers online. So I want you to go to bit.ly cybersafehome and join my CyberSafe at Home Facebook community, where you will be able to keep informed of what the events that are coming up, but also the tips that I will be dropping in there that will help you daily to be safer online. And then you can also go to bit.ly /avoid danger and download the free 5 ways to avoid these dangers that your children may be facing online. So I think, yep, that was it. So that is all I have for this presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope to see you in my CyberSafe at Home Facebook community.
Dawn.
Well, let me tell you, I feel safe, or I feel like I need to be safer. Miss Rosemary said, "Oh my God, thank you. That was so informative. You said a mouthful." We talked about this offline a little bit about how the children are sitting in, Google classrooms or online or whatever they're doing virtually. And it is very scary. I mean, you can't watch them. You're at home, at work, online.
Yeah.
And so this is a very, very, very opportune time to make sure that your whole security system is safe at home. And Dawn is the lady to do it.
Well, I think this is the definition of what it means to have that. It takes a village, where you teach your children the best you can. But like you said, you can't be with them 24/7. But someone else sitting at a restaurant that might be overhearing a conversation between the teenagers, or maybe they're in a situation where a stranger's talking to them. What would you do? Would you stand up and intervene? Would you ask the question? Or would you sit there and mind your own business, hoping that it wasn't what you thought it was? If you're thinking it, then you need to go in and check into it. Because that's your
Awesome.
instinct. Your instincts are kicking in. There's a reason why, and being parents, that instinct kind of comes naturally for us, even if it's someone else's child.
Ms. Vicky says, well done. I am in need myself for myself. I think she said I'm in need of it. So that is awesome. Do we have any other questions for Ms. Dawn in the audience? If so, put them in the chat, and we while she's here, we want to make sure that we answer any questions. You know what? Who sees if there's questions on Facebook?
I'm watching Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you. You see anything out there?
Miss Oster just said this is great information. Thank you for watching, Miss Verlin, sharing out the broadcast. There are people that are watching, so no questions on Facebook.
Okay, awesome.
I think the big thing is,
what's your bit.ly link for your community, Dawn? Again?
The bit.ly for the community is bit.ly/cybersafe home. And that really is going to be where I can help parents, I can help people, entrepreneurs even feel empowered. We have to take control over our security this time. We're in that age in that era that security is really going to be coming from us. So I want to help empower you to be safer online and in general, having that security mindset, thinking about things before we just click. We got to have that thought process in there first before we're just clicking on things, which will definitely reduce a lot of what we invite into our environment.
Okay, Dawn, I want to make sure, because bit.ly is very sensitive. Is it cybersafe with the @
No, just cybersafe home.
Okay. Okay. All lowercase, correct?
All lowercase.
Okay. Okay, great. I just want us to make sure, because I know bit.ly is very sensitive. And then the cybersafe home, that's the way you want them to contact you, or do you want to use the avoid danger for them to contact you?
They can do either one, but because that will also loop them into joining the group. So joining the group is going to be the best place to engage and contact me. They can send me a direct message, that kind of, that kind of thing. I didn't have a bit.ly set up at this point.
Okay, that's fine. Just make sure that it's correct in the chat, and that's the way to contact Miss Dawn.
It's this one with the B, cybersafe home.
Okay, and so we have Miss Rose's. Okay, great. All right, Miss Rose. All right. So I think we're good. What we're gonna do? Coast on to the next pit stop.
We are gonna coast on over to the next pit stop. We're gonna shut it down for a second. We'll be right back. But I also wanted to add, don't forget, we are on several social media platforms. We are also live over on YouTube. Monique, you're monitoring Facebook. I'm over on YouTube. So if anybody wants to jump on over to YouTube, put in Danielle Winningham's name, that will bring you up to the Wealth Speaker videos. Subscribe if you have not already subscribed to her YouTube channel, so that you can see all of these presentations that we are doing this morning and tonight, and you get to see other videos and presentations that have been placed on her YouTube channel as well. So y'all,
I see a question before we end in the Q&A where it's
yeah, I'm answering those questions over there.
Oh, okay.
Someone was saying that they thought this would be good for their grandkids. And then the other question was, many
families in general
do not understand cybersecurity. This is an anonymous attendee, so I'm answering those questions directly here. Let's start.
Lachey is saying, where do I subscribe? You're going to go to that bit.ly/cybersafe home, Lachey. And I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
And let's make sure I checked the links before, but I just feel like I just